What is happening, everybody? We are back again with another video today, and today I want to talk about Singleton again. Surprise! Singleton is one of my favorite modes in the game for sure, and I've done a lot of content on Singleton in general, particularly one deck that I've gotten now 5 Prime Glories with, 3 last season, 2 this season. But today, I have an article out about 5 various Singleton decks, updated all the way up until Cosmic Creations, that I am using for this season, and I'm trying all 5 different decks, playing with all of them, and then just seeing how they all work. But it's an article, it'll be in the description, but this is a video just to go along with that article, just to show you guys what these decks look like and give you my verbal thoughts as well as my written thoughts in the article. So hopefully you check out both. Let's jump right over in to the game here. So this is my baby here. This is Singleton, Bilgewater, Freljord, Noxus. So again, our champions here are Draven, Riven, Gangplank, Swain, Trundle, and Sejuani. And then at the top end, which is really the important part here, is Farron, Leviathan, and Dreadway. We got some big boats down here. This deck's a mid-range deck at heart. You're trying to just overwhelm your opponent through the mid-range. And you just have beefy units trying to buff some things, get really strong buffs, really good combat tricks like Whirling Death and Harsh Winds to get really secure mid-game trades so you can get the best possible advantage early as you can. And then on top of that, the last thing is just a consistency factor, and that comes from drawing. One is Draven's biggest fan will let you hit a more consistent curve in a mode that is otherwise pretty inconsistent. Entreat will get you one of your amazing champions. All 6 champions are super strong here. We have card draw with Fortune Croaker. Shared Spoils will give us more card draw. Then we even have the 2 boats is really the main final thing, where the Leviathan and the Dreadway will both draw our champion. So there's a lot of consistency through that. We have a lot of hand value, and this deck is super strong. I'm not going to go on about this deck anymore. I've talked about it plenty, and there is multiple other videos on the channel about this. So if you're interested in seeing more on this, including gameplay, it's in previous videos, so make sure to check those out. The second deck here is, the second deck here is just a simple burn deck. So now, not everybody wants to play a mid-range deck when it comes to Singleton. Some people just want to watch the world burn. So this is what this deck does. This is Draven, Misfortune, Riven, and then Gangplank, Swain, and Darius. So it is similar champions. The regions are still Bilgewater and Noxus, but we have a few Piltover and Zon cards instead of our Freljord cards, which don't add a whole lot to the burn scheme. And we really switched up our curve here to be a lot more Nexus damage oriented, including the Corsair and the Boom Crew Rookie and the Demolitionist and the Grenadier. So we're really just getting consistent pokes and damage as we go. Our middle game is involved with either going wide or getting damage through, with like the Iron Ballista and Misfortune. They'll both get damage through whenever they attack. And then we go down further, and we have the crowd favorite for more damage through, a couple Elusives here, the Brutal Hunter, because this card I think is made for a mode like Expedition or Singleton, where it's inconsistent combat tricks. She's going to get a really, really strong trade when she's played, so she's super solid. Aftershock adds Nexus damage as well as Landmark hate. Then you go down, and we still finish with Farron, Leviathan, and Dreadway. This combo is super strong for finishing games, but we also are running Darius here. He's also a solid finisher, as well as Jack the Winner. So this is a take that's very similar to the Noxus or the Freljord version, but instead we're adding a couple more burn cards here from Piltover, and then mixing some of the mid-game up to more just worry about the Nexus. So this is more just going to go through, deal damage to the Nexus. It's solid because you can't maximize healing in this type of mode. Even if you're running Targon, you can't run three star shaping, right? You can only run 1. So this is still super solid and very viable. I've had a decent feedback on this from various players on Reddit and things as well, and it has gotten plenty of prime glories. And if you're looking for more of a burn mentality and you don't really want to deal with trading in the mid game, this is a super solid option. That's the first 2. They get a little different from there. So here we have Bilgewater, Targon, and 24 Piltover and Zon cards. This is purely based around creating cards, this deck. So we have a lot of the cards that you're going to expect from this, like Poro Cannon and Zoe. And then we have the new Victor-based cards with Augment. So we have Ballistic Bot, Calculated Creations. Of course, we have to have the Neandroid as well. Our second champion is Ezreal, and then our last 4 champions are Jinx, Twisted Fate, Victor, and Heimerdinger. So these are not super strong mid-range champions, not super statted champions, but they do a lot of different things. Heimerdinger will make endless turrets. Victor will get relatively big and give you more use. Jinx is kind of our backup plan if her hand dies out, and Twisted Fate's just the most flexible champion in the game. We have to run when we're playing this many different cards. This mode is made with Pursuit of Perfection. If you play 20 different cards, you can summon a 30-30. And in my most recent run, I went 7-1 with my Bilgewater Failure Noxus deck. This is the card I lost to, so it can happen in Singleton for sure. Catastrophe is very feasible in Singleton, and if you're running that, you of course are going to run Submersible. You have to play only 10 different cards, and you get a 5/5 elusive that draws a card. Super solid. You mix all that up, and your top end is really a University of Piltovers to just, if you have no cards left, no other options, you're just going to get random nonsense to finish your game out, which is actually pretty viable, as well as Give It All. We have so many different keywords in this deck naturally, and on top of that, we have Victor, who gains a bunch of different keywords, and Heimerdinger, who plays a bunch of different turrets with different keywords. So Give It All is super strong in this deck as well. And then the only other thing worth noting is a little bit of the Invoke package with Star Shaping and the Priestess, and obviously Zoe at the beginning, because these will be created cards in the Invoke package. I can't speak highly enough in a mode like Singleton. It adds such a flexible curve because you can just really create things on the fly that you're going to need into various matchups. Like if you're playing an aggro deck, you need your lifesteal, you can get that. If you need an early challenger, you can get that with the Serpent. And then if you just need finishing massive things at the end, there's plenty of those as well, which you can get when you do level up Zoe with Behold the Infinite, or when you're using Star Shaping. So super solid deck. This is a little bit more of a fun deck. You can do a lot of different things, and you have a lot of flexibility, and it's going to be a different game every single time you play this. This is taking consistency in a different form. The first deck really takes consistency in the sense that you're going to play very similar curves for a Singleton deck. This, you're going to have a lot of cards. You're going to have a lot of options always, and that's the consistency factor. But the options are always going to be different, and you're going to have to really choose wisely each and every game and pilot this one to the finish. This is a tough challenge, but it 100% can get there, and it's a super solid list. So we're through 3. We got 2 more going. Here's a Dragons deck. Quite fun. This is another really beefy mid-range deck. We don't have a lot of Through the Nexus damage, even like my main Bilgewater Failure Noxus deck. This has a lot less damage to the Nexus, things like Overwhelm and Captain Farron and the Leviathan, things like that. But it has a really strong mid-game, including a lot of challenging and a little bit more flexibility. So our champions are Lucian, Fiora, Leona, Shyvana, Garen, and then, of course, our boy Aurelian Sol. We have plenty of big dragons, like Eclipse Dragon, Broodmother. We're splashing Ionia mainly for Deny, but we're also going to put the Empyrean in here for another dragon. Mind Splinter. Tiana is crazy now at 8/8 with Tough, and then we're running a Judgment. That's our top end. And we're running Targon's Peak because we are very stacked heavy. If you look at our curve, it is pretty dang heavy up here. 4 8s, 3 7s, 4 6s. That's pretty heavy as far as decks go here. And then we have a lot of other things early that are just going to be consistent strikes. We have all of the good. Demacia and Targon have the best 2-cost combat spells in the game. Between Hush, Pale Cascade, Sharpsight, Single Combat, those are 4 of the best spells in the game, and they all cost 2. We just have consistency here with some challenging units and some barriers early. Plenty of draw and dragon creation with Dragon's Clutch and the Egghead. And then we also have the Invoke package a little bit as well. And here we also get to run the Grand Plaza as well as Targon's Peak. So you actually get to run 2 different landmarks, which can be massive in Singleton. There's not a whole lot of landmark hate. Most people will try to run 1 Aftershock or 1 of the Scorched Earths, but that isn't always going to be seen. And if you do see Grand Plaza or Targon's Peak, you can really get some serious value out of that. And then this, you just want to stabilize that mid-game, create a board that's so large, so powerful, that really their only out would be drawing their 1x Ruination, which isn't always going to happen, and then you just stabilize and win the game from there. So if you like dragons, that's the deck for you. Last deck here is an Elusive deck. So I've splashed in some Elusives throughout. This is really going all in on the Elusives. Now, the Creations deck has a decent amount of Elusives within the Android, the Submersible, Heimerdinger in general. But this deck is more just printed Elusive cards. So, of course, we're running Fizz and Zoe. Then we have Lulu, Misfortune, Zed, and Gangplank for a little bit of top-end finishing. But we have all of the solid Elusive cards. And if you just look down here at 5 or more, You have the Hatchling, you have the Empyrean, you have the Wiggly Burglefish, Zeebles, Wave Rider, even Zap up here. And then we're just using Courier just for a rally for that. This has a ton of more elusives as you go down. And then we're just running some solid protection for those elusives, like Bastion, like Deny, even like the Blessing of Targon, which if you can put on either the Kinku Lifeblade or the one of the most broken cards, the Sparklefly, massive play there. Speaking of the protection, again, we have Mentor of Stones for additional protection, as well as Twin Disciplines and Nopify, and even Hush, and all these things. Spell Thief is a massive card in this mode because there are so many different spells, and it's just a really flexible card. This deck is super fun. I've played it quite a few times through a couple different runs, and it pops off and does crazy amount of damage. And if your opponent doesn't have an answer for the elusiveness, you're going to run them over really quick. It's a cool way to get Lulu involved. And if she's not really super meta defiant and hasn't been played that much, but she actually shines in this deck really well. Buffing up a Sparklefly or even a Zoe is super fun and super solid. So this deck is a little bit more, again, a little bit trickier, but it's a more of a sneaky deck. You're trying to slip a ton of damage underneath, kind of related to the Burn deck. The Burn deck has a lot more spells that are just trying to blast things off the board, but also slipping damage through. This is really about building a solid board, protecting that board, and then trying to, burn them slowly, and then really have one huge turn of either the Hatchling or a rally on Courier or something along those lines to get a massive, massive finish, and then you can just push them out and finish the game that way with all of your elusive damage. So guys, that is the 5 Singleton decks that I would suggest as of Cosmic Creations. There is a whole lot more you can do with this mode. All these deck codes will be in the description below. Take this as you may and really just have fun with the decks. Change plenty of things to fit your collection. Change things up based on, your play style. Any of these decks can shift, and it's one of cards. So you're not making drastic changes that are going to shift the way the deck plays if you change 5 cards. Base it around your playstyle and around what you like, or even just base it around what prismatic cards you have so you can show off more in Singleton. Singleton's a blast. Hope you guys are enjoying it. As always, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to our channel, leave a comment, and we'll see you next time.